Yonder spoilers next week 14 to 18 reveal the shadow of power intrigue and family power struggles continues to loom over Genoa City, as secrets and hidden agendas are revealed. At the center of these power struggles are two ambitious figures, Audra Charles and Jack Abbott. Both have the same goal, to take Victor Newman out of the business game, but do they have enough trust to make a secret alliance? Audra and Jack meet at a familiar place, the athletic club. The atmosphere is tense as usual, but today's conversation is more than just a social gathering. Audra, who has been plotting for a long time, now has the opportunity to expose Victor Newman, the most influential man in Genoa City's business world. Audra has been preparing for this moment. She came with a proposition, but also knew that everything had to be right, that Jack Abbott had to be hit right where he needed to be if she wanted him to join her in this dangerous game. Sitting across from Jack, Audra made no secret of it. She spoke frankly, but kept a certain defensiveness, because she knew the other party was not easy to trust. Victor Newman, Audra began, her eyes sharp, he's the silent investor behind Glissade. He's been pulling Kyle's strings all this time. Audra's words were like thunder in Jack's ears. He had long suspected that Victor was involved in Kyle Abbott's strange moves, but had no clear evidence. Now, Audra's assertion not only confirmed his thoughts, but also opened up an opportunity, the opportunity to free Kyle from Victor's influence. While Audra carefully watched Jack's reaction, he sat silently, his sharp eyes analyzing every detail. Audra was right that their goals might be aligned. She wanted control of Glissade, the company she used to run but now controlled by Victor. Meanwhile, Jack wanted only one thing, to get his son, Kyle Abbott, out of Victor's clutches. It was a mutual interest, but at the same time, they both knew that their trust was fragile. Jack did not trust anyone easily, especially Audra, a woman of ambition and willing to do anything to achieve her goals. He recognized her ability and intelligence, but also understood that working with her could be a double-edged sword. However, Jack could not deny that Audra's offer was a rare opportunity. They were facing a common enemy, Victor Newman. Audra knew that Jack was not an easy man to convince, but she believed that their common interests would make him reconsider. She kept insisting that their alliance was not only beneficial to her, but also the key to Jack getting Kyle out of Victor's hands. "We have the same goal, Jack," Audra said, her voice firm. "You want to free Kyle, I want Glissade. We can both achieve it if we work together." Jack sat silently, his eyes intent as if analyzing Audra's every word. He knew what kind of person Victor was, someone who never gave up and was always ready to use any means to get what he wanted. However, Jack also had to consider carefully. Working with Audra meant he had to enter a risky game, where any mistake could lead to total failure. Plan to overthrow Victor, alliance or risk? Audra could not afford to lose the opportunity. She knew Jack was hesitant, and she needed more leverage to convince him. She decided to reveal a little more about her plan. Victor has been controlling Glissade for too long. He's not only using Glissade to control Kyle, but also to expand his own power. If we don't act now, you'll lose Kyle forever. Audra's words seemed to strike a chord deep within Jack. Victor had interfered too much in Kyle's life, and that had strained the relationship between father and son. Jack couldn't let Victor continue to manipulate his son. He needed a strategy to get out of Victor's shadow. Audra's offer was tempting. Jack understood that this was an opportunity to solve all the problems he was facing. However, he also knew that working with Audra would mean entering a dangerous game, where everyone had their own goals and no one could fully trust each other. The secret alliance between Audra and Jack is officially formed, marking a new turning point in the war of intrigue and power in Genoa City. Jack and Audra, although they have their own goals, now have a common enemy, Victor Newman. Summer walked in, her eyes filled with worry and exhaustion. She had always tried to be strong, but slowly, the pressures of her family were starting to wear down that facade. She had just received news from Chance, and what she was about to face was not pleasant. Chance had arranged to meet her at the cafe in Genoa City, where just a few minutes ago, he had stood there with a cold face. But this time, Chance's eyes were filled with sadness and helplessness. He didn't want this to happen, but work was work, and he had no choice. Summer froze. Her heart clenched at those words. No way. He wouldn't do that. I know Daniel isn't capable of hurting anyone, especially Heather. She fought back tears and tried to stay calm. But her insecurities were growing, and Summer decided she would do anything to protect her brother. Summer looked straight into Chance's eyes, her eyes shining with determination. "I ask you to investigate and clarify everything. Daniel is not the killer. You need to review all the evidence." Chance nodded. He understood Summer's feelings for her brother. But as an investigator, he couldn't ignore what he had seen. "Summer, I found some disturbing evidence in Heather and Daniel's apartment," Chance said slowly, as if not wanting to put more burden on her shoulders. Summer clenched her jaw. The evidence could have been tampered with. "Someone is trying to frame Daniel. I won't let him be ruined by these accusations." Chance looked at her, the tension between them now more obvious than ever. He didn't want to hurt Summer, but as a police officer, he couldn't ignore the truth he had found. He knew that this investigation was full of twists and turns and it wouldn't be easy to find the answer. In Phyllis's apartment, the atmosphere was quieter, but no less tense. Phyllis was trying to comfort Lucy, her niece. The two sat side by side on the sofa in the living room, where the soft yellow sunlight streamed through the windows. But the atmosphere in the room was heavier because of the upcoming conversation. Lucy had been silent all this time, her eyes fixed on the floor, not daring to raise her head to face the truth. She could not bear the thought that her father could be a murderer. Phyllis saw it clearly, and her heart broke at the sight of her niece's pain. Phyllis said softly, "Lucy, sometimes life brings us things that are too painful to accept right away. And today is one of those days." Phyllis hugged Lucy and whispered, "It's not over yet, we don't know all the truth. But there's one thing you need to know, your dad loved you very much, and you shouldn't blame yourself for anything." The two of them shed tears, the pain of the past and the present seeming to merge together. Phyllis could see that Lucy was trying to keep her mind steady, but she was still too young to face this loss. Phyllis leaned back in her chair, a little confused in her eyes. She decided it was time to tell Lucy about her life, to give her granddaughter a better understanding of the woman who had been through many storms and painful choices. "Lucy, I have a few stories to tell you," Phyllis began, her voice deepening. "My life wasn't always straightforward, but I want you to know that, no matter what, I always fought for the people I loved." Meanwhile, across town, Audra was walking through the vast halls of Newman Enterprises, where she had once felt power within her grasp. She had protected Glissade with unwavering devotion and even brought in Victor Newman, the man known as the Mustache, as an investor. But what she had received from Victor was betrayal. Just last week, she had been fired from the company without warning. Audra stood in front of her office window, looking out, her eyes blazing with anger. She had no more loyalty to Victor. She knew now that to survive, she would have to rely on herself. Loyalty was a luxury she could no longer afford. She had learned from Victor that the corporate world was never kind. And now, Audra prepared for her next move, no longer bound by any ties to Victor or Glissade. The Young and the Restless story is moving toward a twist. From family love to corporate intrigue, every character is faced with painful choices that will not only affect their lives but also change the fate of those they love. Subscribe to Yonder to stay up to date with the latest news on our channel.